What are the keys to a great night out? Great food and drinks, great prizes, and great friends. Join us Thursday, January 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Key STL Burger Bar and Boogie in the Grand Center Arts District. Enjoy a live broadcast with Cam Jansen and Jim Hayes, plus special guest Matt Adams. Dig into the best smash burgers in town and get your shot at winning opening day Cardinals tickets, autographed merch, and more. That's Thursday, January 22nd, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Key STL, 3225 Olive. Come eat, hang out, and win.
Hello again. I am Bernie Miklasz, and welcome to the Bernie Show, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I've been around this joint for a long time, writing and talking about St. Louis sports since 1985. You can find my videos and columns here at STL Sports Central. I also visit with Randy Carricker on his show, and you can catch me throughout the week on KMOX FM and AM. I'm keeping busy. Anyway, here is the topic of the day. As the Cardinals prepare to enter a full rebuild season, let us ask a question. What would qualify as a successful season for them in 2026? Now, let me say this up front. Chaim Bloom's work is not done. He is still trying to, come up with a potential trade or two, maybe a free agent signing or two. We don't know if Brendan Donovan will be traded, but given the interest in him from other teams, I still believe he will be moved. If he's not, that affects what we would think of the 2026 Cardinals. And I do expect Chaim Bloom to add, if nothing else, a right-handed bat for better lineup balance. Now, here is, let me have some fun with you. Here's an incorrect answer. And from time to time through the years, I would get an answer like this when we're talking about the Cardinals, when they were, winning in the playoffs and doing well. They'd win a playoff round, they'd get to the NLCS and they'd lose. And, I would be writing columns at the Post-Dispatch, and I'd be getting these emails, and people would say, Bernie, unless the Cardinals win the World Series, I consider this season a failure, and it was a failure. And I've even in recent years where the Cardinals clearly haven't been as good as they were, I still get that. As far as I'm concerned, if they don't win the World Series, season's a disaster. It's lost. It's a failure. No. It's just not that simple. Anyway, that absurd tough guy nonsense is really funny because I was just laughing. But I do kind of try at least as much as I can to live in the real and the realistic world. I do not want to waste what is left of my brain on foolishness. You don't say, I'm not going to say, well, unless they make the playoffs and get to the World Series, this season's, I don't care. Not going to do that. As the then Vice President of the United States, Dan Quayle, once said, and I quote, "What a waste it is to lose one's mind, or not to have a mind is being very wasteful." How true that is. Yeah, Dan, how true that is. I bet you didn't expect to hear a Dan Quayle reference, did you? Huh? Anyway, I could say that the Cardinals can become a contender, and that would be a success. But if I say contender, then just about everybody out there would chuckle, and I would chuckle along. Although I do remind you, I think the Cincinnati Reds got in the playoffs last year with 82 wins, something like that. I don't think the Cardinals ain't a playoff team. But the world is crazy, and sports world too. This team, as it is right now, has the weakest power hitting capability in the majors and one of the most limited offensive attacks in the game. The starting rotation does have plenty of depth, but the rotation's effectiveness is questionable until there's a reason not to question it. Bullpen has talent, but does not have as much experience, especially if Jojo Romero, their best lefty, is traded. And we'll see how Ali Marmol and Dusty Blake kind of reconstruct, for lack of a better term, that bullpen. But there are some good pieces down there. Anyway, as I go along, I'm going to offer my takes on what a good season would look like for the rebuilding Cardinals. But let's start out with doing this. Let's glance at the current win projections for the 2026 Cardinals. I think it's a logical starting point because it sort of gives us a little foundation of, okay, can they do better than that? Will they be worse than that? Will they be pretty much right there with that? And so let's go down the list real quick. At DraftKings, the Cardinals have a projected win total right now of 71.5 wins. And if that would be the case, basically most of these projections, the Cardinals would be better than, in terms of win total, we'd be better than the only teams that would be worse than the Cardinals, I should say, would be the Los Angeles Angels, the Washington Nationals, Chicago White Sox, and the Colorado Rockies. So just, again, wanted to just put some perspective on that, or some context. Anyway, over at Betting Pros, where they track projections at a bunch of different sites for investment purposes, the opening projection for St. Louis was 74.5 wins, but since then the consensus has dropped at Betting Pros to 71.5 wins. The Fangraphs projection for the Cardinals, which I think is going to change, but right now it's a 470 winning percentage, which translates to 76 wins. I don't know if a projection model has emotions, but 76 victory seems a little optimistic, or is it? Get to that later. ESPN has a projected win total of 73.5. The great Clay Davenport's model currently has a forecast of a 71-91 record for the Cardinals. That would be, back to the future, because of course, the 2023 Cardinals went 71-91, and it was a feudal franchise that year, and kind of Cardinals really never recovered. Well, they did in terms of record somewhat, but you know what I'm saying. Obviously, the one common aspect with all of these projections is a losing record for your 2026 Cardinals. And if that happens, it would be their first set of back-to-back losing records in full seasons of baseball since 1958-59. Now, some of you might say, well, what about 1994 and 95? Yeah, I would say that too, except they weren't full seasons. I mean, I think the Cardinals played 90 because of labor wars between the owners and the players. I think the Cardinals in 1994 played 115 games, and then in 95, the season started a little later. They played 143 games. So if the Cardinals have a losing record of season, be the first time in full seasons back-to-back since 1958 and 59. If the Cardinals in 2026 finish below 500, it would also mean 3 losing records in their last 4 seasons. And again, sticking with full seasons, that if they lose, if they end up with 3 losing records in the last 4 seasons, it'll be the first time for that happening over a 4-year stretch since 1975 through 1978. So, they're kind of threatening to make a new kind of history, the kind that we really don't want to see them make. But even though it is a low ebb time for Cardinals baseball, based on, the first 27 years or so of the Bill DeWitt ownership, it's something that all Major League Baseball franchises have gone through. They've gone through things just like this, very similar to the Cardinals, or in a lot of cases, much, much worse. So what the Cardinals are doing now is not exclusive to St. Louis. I've tried to point that out and even give you examples in the past, and people just don't want to, crickets, don't want to acknowledge it. We seem to think this is exclusive only to St. Louis. I don't know why. Because we were used to a lot of success, and we should want success. I have no problem with being a little greedy there. All right. But as first, when we, I'm going to get into, more of what we're talking about in terms of, okay, what needs to happen if they're to have a good season for a rebuild team. But at first, as we get closer to Sunday's AFC and NFC championship games, let's talk about DraftKings, where, as we say, the crown is yours. We got an exciting weekend coming up, and if you haven't opened an account through the DraftKings Sportsbook app, this is a terrific time to do it. So jump in, join the fun at DraftKings. Take your best shot at winning cash money, and you will be happy. You're going to have fun either way. So let's do it. DraftKings has your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop bet goes down at any point in the first half, you will still get paid in cash. That's pretty awesome. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL and makes every playoff moment feel even bigger and more entertaining and just exciting. it's another way to really enjoy watching the sports you love. All right. As for the conference championships, because I've been trying to point out stuff through this whole playoff season, I'm trying to, every day I do a video, I've been trying to point this out, that out, this out, that out about different games. Okay, so here's what I want to point out today. Take a look at Seattle running back Kenneth Walker III as a strong prop bet possibility in the matchup against the Los Angeles Rams. As of Thursday morning, DraftKings listed Kenneth Walker with a total of 17.5 receiving yards. That's not a lot, especially when I give you the backfill on trends. The sensible play here is to take Walker to go over 17.5 receiving yards, and the current odds on that are minus 111, which means if you bet $20, you would get 38 back, including the 20 that you put in. So Walker has cleared this line of 17.5 yards receiving in 7 of 11 games since the Seahawks bye in week 9. But Walker will be featured even more prominently in this game after the Seahawks lost Zach Charbonnet, their excellent running back, to a serious knee injury last week. He's out. He's done for the season, which is a shame. With Charbonnet out, Walker, however, will take on a larger role, and that should include more pass plays because he's pretty dang good at that. The matchup would be favorable because, you know, your boy here will always give you the numbers. I'm not saying these things work out, but I don't have an opinion unless it's supported by strong trends and strong stats. The LA Rams this season allowed the 5th most receiving yards to running backs during the regular season at an average of 38 yards per game. And an opposing running back has gone over that line of 17.5 yards against the Rams in 9 of the last 11 games. And in 2 regular season games against the Seahawks in 2025, Walker had 64 receiving yards in the first game and 44 receiving yards in the second game. So even if this line moves up to, say, 18.5 receiving yards, 19.5, maybe even 20.5, I'd still go with it. Again, because it's backed by strong facts and doesn't mean it'll happen. There are no guarantees in this, as you know. But I try to build it on a foundation of trends. So for you to get in on the action, just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Good stuff. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
All right, let's move into the second segment here on Thursday's Bernie Show. In a rebuild, what would have to happen for the 2026 Cardinals to sort of look at it, or will look at it and say, you know, all in all, that was a pretty successful season based on the situation we're in, which is a full rebuild. Now, I have some thoughts, and later on in today's show, I'm going to tell you how many games I believe the Cardinals are capable of winning or will win in 2026. First of all, to get to the part where everyone would be generally satisfied or pleased by the outcome of 2026, and I'm talking about reasonable people, I want to see J.J. Weatherholt be J.J. Weatherholt and begin the process of becoming the face of the franchise and maybe the number one factor in the transformation of the franchise in time, and see him emerge as a star player who can elevate this team. It doesn't have to happen in the first couple months of the season, but he's got what it takes. He has got what it takes to accomplish a lot of special things. And he plays a style of ball, at least as a hitter, that I think Cardinals fans will love. Second would be great for Alec Burleson to build on his career best 2025 season. And I don't think that's kind of like a flight of fancy. He should. To me, the most important factors in a rebuilding season with a very young team is to see progress, real progress made by some of their hitters that have a lot to prove. Of course, I'm referring to Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman. At the very least, both of these dudes have to land in that above average hitting zone at the end of the season. fewer strikeouts, more consistent contact, better judgment when you swing at pitches, and more home runs, all that good stuff. Am I asking for either one of these guys to be Aaron Judge in 2026? No. What we need to see is the 22 and 2023 versions of Nolan Gorman, only better. And yeah, in 22 and 2023, for his age, really good. It's all relative. He needs to get back there, back to the beginning, but do even better. And we got to see the 2023 version of Walker, only more. And there would be nothing wrong with that outcome because he was, I think, 15% above the league average offensively as a rookie. So if both of those guys can sort of get back to where they were doing pretty well, that would be a significant step in the right direction for the Cardinals and for those guys. I'd like to see Mason Wynn put his 2025 season behind him. And of course, this is all about his offense because he's a Gold Glove shortstop. Wynn for his career is around 10% below league average offensively, according to OPS Plus in the majors. And with his talent, and see, this is a compliment to him. With his talent, I think he's better than that, and I don't think he should be struggling as much as he has. He'll get there. He's a smart guy, great competitor, wants to be great. The Cardinals must have Ivan Herrera available for their lineup more regularly in 2026, and I kind of harp on this, so I apologize. I don't think people realize how good he was last year, or I should say enough people. I know a lot of you do. But last season, Herrera produced a level of offense at a rate of 40% above the league average, according to OPS Plus. To put that in context, that was the fifth best performance in the majors among right-handed hitters that logged at least 450 plate appearances. Fifth best among right-handed hitters. Herrera's offensive performance in 2025 put him above some really good or really great right-handed hitters last season, including, and I'm going to give you three names. There are a lot of them. I'm going to give you three names. His offensive performance last year was better than that of Bo Bichette, Alex Bergman, and Bobby Witt Jr., three right-handed hitters who were not as good as Herrera in 2025. Now, I mentioned those dudes for a reason. They're all three pretty big names, number one. And number two, the contracts that they now have were given to them by teams that collectively spent $585 million in those three contracts. Now, listen, that changes if there are opt-outs and all that crap. I'm just assuming for the purpose of conversation, there aren't any opt-outs. Teams were willing. We're talking about the Royals. We're talking about the Cubs. We're talking about the Mets. Those three teams were willing to say, hey, even if it's $585 million guaranteed dollars, put all that together, those three contracts, $585 million. And none of them matched Herrera's OPS Plus in 2025. I'm just saying, folks, here is the challenge for Herrera. This season, we want 600 plate appearances from him instead of 450. Got to be healthy, got to stay in the lineup more often. Next, Victor Scott got to improve offensively. I don't mean to be crass because I'm certainly not disrespectful. I want Victor Scott to improve offensively, and I think he can. But that said, I'm tired of reading, 25 stories. There's usually, I'm exaggerating, there's usually like 2 or 3 a month or whatever about, he's working on this, he's doing that. Oh, he's making progress. Oh, he's down in Florida. Oh, wow. Everyone's going, wow. I want to see it when it happens, okay? And he's got to get better offensively. If Lars Nootbaar is here all season, listen, is he ever going to get to the spot where he plays up to his potential? I give him credit for playing hurt last year, more games he played in his career this season. And we didn't know until after the season. That dude was hurt. So I give him credit for that. But he's been kind of a tease. And if the Cardinals are going to progress and have what you would call a good rebuild type of season, Newtbar, if he's here, has got to be a big part of that. He's got to do his part and sort of get higher in that offensive level. We need to see if catcher Jimmy Crooks, who's one of their top prospects, can be an effective big league hitter and take control of the number one catching job ahead of Pedro Pajes. Can we see, and I think we can we see Thomas Ajayci develop into a quality utility man, both offensively and defensively? That would be a very good development for the Cardinals, especially if they trade Brendan Donovan. And as I said in a recent video, the 2026 rebuild is going to look a hell of a lot better if outfield prospect Joshua Baez, who's rising fast, he graduates to the majors during the course of the season. In my video, I said, I think he could be starting in the Cardinals outfield after the All-Star break. And Baseball America agrees with that. And then there's the pitching. My focus on the starting rotation right now is most of my focus is on the starting rotation, because I think the bullpen will be a work in progress. And there's so many there's such a huge pool of relievers, as you know. They're moving up, they're moving down. They go down to Memphis, they come back. It's always like moving parts all the time. So I'm focusing on the rotation. Heimblum's really improved the depth, and that's important because the Cardinals definitely have more rotation options this season. Right now, you got Dustin May, Matthew Liberatore, Hunter Dobbins, Michael McGreevy, Kyle Leahy, Richard Fitz, Andre Palante. That's 7 right there. And then that's before we even mention prospects who could show up at some point in 2026, like Quinn Matthews, Liam Doyle, Bryson Motts, Eshawn Henderson. I mean, they've really got a nice supply of starting pitchers. Again, most of these guys got to prove themselves, but that's why this is a rebuild. It's about proving that you're worth the investment and that you can be part of the future. Even with Sonny Gray gone to Boston, I think the Cardinals have intriguing starting pitching talent and deeper level of talent that I don't think it's a long shot or anything ridiculous to say. I think they can actually form a better rotation than what we saw in 2025. And before you tell me, any of you tell me, well, don't get carried away, Bernie. Sonny Gray's not here. Well, Sonny Gray was there last year, and last year the Cardinals ranked 25th in the majors in ERA, starting pitching, 27th in win probability added in starting pitching, and they were 29th in strikeout rate. The fact that they've got more options they can give the ball to, they really didn't have enough options last year. Miles Michaelis ain't around anymore either. Think about it that way, right? I wouldn't be surprised if this rotation is better. And when I say better, maybe around 20th, maybe around 18th, something like that. Just think about it. It's not a far-fetched notion, especially because the rotation was awful last year. The bullpen, as I mentioned, is an X factor. It could be better than I think. Could be worse. Again, moving parts up and down. Memphis, St. Louis, waiver claims. Bloom and his guys are going to be looking to pick up guys, relievers, put them in the bullpen. Maybe Liam Doyle comes up and pitches in the bullpen. I mean, there's just too many things to kind of put into place and assume stuff about. It's going to be an X factor, and I do like the fact that Matt Swanson is there because he was really good as a rookie last season. So I do think the Cardinals have good talent in the house, maybe a little better than I would have just thought before I started taking a look at some stuff. But can it come together? That's the thing. Can disappointing hitters become happy surprise, pleasant surprise type of hitters in 2026? I don't know. That's why they play the game. Will the starting rotation be more solid than what we would normally expect in the first full season of a rebuild? Well, maybe last year was that year where you're like, well, they are starting to rebuild, so this is probably the low point. I think it can be a solid group. A lot of the hitters and pitchers I've cited here could go either way, but that's the point of a rebuild and playing a lot of guys that do not have established performance histories. The Cardinals are going to need more of them to show real progress instead of regressing. When I return for my third and final segment, I'm going to narrow it down, give you the number of wins I believe the Cardinals are capable of hitting in 2026. That'll be in my third and final segment. Before that, I have a hard and helpful message for the gentlemen out there. Fellas, If you are off your game, it's Blue Chew time. Yep, that means it's time to rise up, and Blue Chew will help you with an exciting new product that enhances performance in the bedroom, or you pick the damn room. It doesn't matter. It's all good. Blue Chew Gold is the name of it, and it's the newest innovation from the #1 chewable ED brand, and this new option is setting the gold standard for performance. There's a lot of positive buzz about this. Blue Chew Gold has additional ingredients for increased blood flow, for launching your rocket and keeping that rocket ride going, keeping it in the air for an enjoyable ride. Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue and can work in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get busy quicker and stay in the game longer. Full passion and peak performance in a single tablet, like I always like to say. Next time you get one of those, "Hey, are you up?" text messages from her, you take a picture of Blue Chew, not something else, and you send it. That's your answer. And she will know you are up. You can make life easier by getting harder, so don't miss out. Go with BlueChew.com and see what they've got for you. But I can tell you what they've got for you, other than Blue Chew Gold, is that they've got a special deal for our audience. You get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with the code Bernie. That's promo code Bernie. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. Thank Blue Chew for not only sponsoring the Bernie Show, but for helping the gentlemen out there in our audience, because I've heard good things, what they're saying about reaching out for help from Blue Chew. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment. Cardinals won 78 games last season. Can they get there again? I don't rule it out. That may surprise you. And I'm not being Fred Bird here. I think I'm pretty pragmatic. I don't rule it out, even though they don't have Wilson Contreras. They don't have Sonny Gray. They don't have Nolan Arenado. They don't have Phil Maton. They don't have Steven Matz. I could name a couple others, but you get the point. Gray provided 3.6 wins above replacement last season, the most by a Cardinal pitcher or hitter. But because of injuries, Contreras managed only 2.8 wins above replacement. Arenado's value was less than 1 win above replacement for the first time ever in his career. Nootbaar also fell below 1 win of WAR for the first time in his career. If the Cardinals trade Donovan, they'll be giving up a 3-win player, which would hurt their cause in 2026. But I've kind of expecting that to happen, so I'm not dwelling that on too much, but we'll have a lot to talk about if he stays, because it'll change a couple things. I think the Cardinals, however, can win 78 for a few quick reasons I will explain. Weatherholt's going to boost the offense, and I have no doubt about that. Herrera should have a big season. He's a really talented hitter. Several other hitters should do better. And I'm not talking about, again, all of a sudden they're a superstar, but we mentioned some of those guys. Just getting back to higher ground, Walker and Gorman, that kind of thing. A dude like Joshua Baez could be a positive factor after the All-Star break. And while there is no one at the top of the rotation like Mr. Sonny Gray, the Cardinals starting rotation is a lot deeper and flexible and more capable from top to bottom than what we saw last season, because you had Gray there, but then it got really thinned out as it went down, right? I don't think it'll be as thin from top to bottom. I don't know why my chair's squeaking. Maybe because I weigh too much. You think? I don't know if St. Louis relievers can be strong for a third straight season, but Marmol's really great at running a bullpen, no matter what the whiners say. One of these days I'll share a report. It's actually kind of a report I'm not allowed to share. I saw this amazing report about that, published by kind of an independent site that teams commission to do these reports. That bullpen management was fantastic the last 2 years. The defense should be at least above average again in 2026. I don't see any reasons why it wouldn't be. So, yeah, I could see if enough of these things break right, and that there's no – I don't know what the percentage of probability that is. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if enough of these things break the right way, I could see the Cardinals getting to 78 wins, because what the hell, it's only 78 wins. We're not talking about – I'm not sitting here saying, well, they can get to, these boys can get to 87 wins. They do a few things better. No, I'm not saying that. I can see 79 wins. I'd probably stop at 80 at the high end of this scale. But the big picture is this: 2026 ain't about counting wins. It's about growing the talent base, expanding the talent base, finding more talent, developing it on the farm, moving some people up, moving the high A guys to double A, moving the double A guys to triple A, graduating some triple A guys to the major leagues. That's what this is all about. And there's going to be a lot of changes and a lot of in progress movement, but it's all about growing the talent base at every phase of the minor league system and the major league system. It's about young pitchers improving, young hitters improving, and the Cardinals playing smart baseball, getting in the really good habits early, getting in the good habits and playing smart baseball. I don't think the standings, though, will really tell us the story. What these players do on the field will tell us the story. And we'll be able to watch it and see them grow or not grow. We will be able to see guys that say, wow, this looks like a successful season for this player. But we're probably going to be looking at a couple guys, maybe, hopefully not more. And we're going to say, well, another failure. So it's all about what we see. The stats will tell us some things, of course. The metrics will really tell us some things. Of course, the standings will give us a number, but I don't think that number will really define the stuff that is happening that hasn't yet led to an increased win total. Because if these players grow, and we can see them grow, if they do grow, then the number of wins will grow as well. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you very much. Leave your comments. Always appreciated. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, STL Sports Central. Hit that like button. That really helps us. So thank you very much in advance. Take care.